Why are English academies failing to get their players into the first team? How has football commercialisation ruined the academy system? Why has this impacted on England's poor competition performances? These are the factors that I'm going to explore in this documentary. I'm also going to try and find the root problem of why academy graduates aren't making it into the first team. Many fans believe that football commercialisation has changed the traditions of football, with all the clubs receiving a massive amounts of money from sponsorship and TV deals. This has led to fans expecting bigger signings, which has made clubs look abroad and unfortunately look less into the youth academy players are seeming to make it into the first team less and less these days as the game seems to progress. Before football clubs began to generate so much income, academy setups were used effectively to recruit first team players. There are many reasons which are believed to have had this effect. The first one I will look into is the influx of money. As previously mentioned, many clubs make big signings from across the world to bolster their squad, which has in turn made fans expect big names in the starting lineup, which makes it harder for managers to combine the youth and the big names. We can't only focus on the negatives, we must also address the positive impacts that this money has had on the academy systems, as a lot of clubs have reinvested a lot of the money into the academy systems and have improved their programs drastically to help the youngsters. Does the problem come from the fans? With fans becoming more and more demanding of success, they are putting pressure on the managers, which then in turn makes them less likely to select the academy prospects for games. With all the English football leagues having a massive increase in firing rate with managers over the years, it is no surprise that managers are choosing their big name players in order to try and get their best performances to gain the results. In other countries with less money in football, fans are more patient with their teams and more willing to see academy prospects in the first team. This has then in turn led to them using their academy successfully and making money from where the players have grown and met their potential, and then players from the English and other leagues are buying them. Is the problem within the players themselves? Many football followers believe youth academy players are given too much, especially in England compared to other countries across the world. They believe this has affected players' mindsets and has killed the passion and love of the game, and players focus more on the luxuries instead of the game itself. It is known years ago players wouldn't get paid to play academy football, or if they did, it wouldn't be such large amounts as we see in today's games. Academy players would even wash the boots and the kits of first team players. However, we must look at the other side of this argument. With some of these players being offered such lucrative deals, how can we expect them to turn it down? As to some of them, this is life-changing money, and maybe with their families not so well off, they have to accept these offers to change not just for them but for their families. Also, with the way the media treat English players compared to players from across the world, there is more pressure created for these young men to deal with. Do you feel that other academies across Europe and the rest of the world use their academy system more efficiently than in England?
Well, I can only talk about the English one as such, but the English academy system as a whole is quite varied. You have a lot of football clubs that put boys in their first team, other football clubs that struggle to do it. I think a lot of it depends on, you have to be at a football club that gives you an opportunity. So are you an academy that has the potential to put boys in? What's the pathway like? Is there a clear route into the first team for young players? If you have a look at the Spanish and the German model, it's sort of governed more by their national body. So they have access to the players constantly. They have national development centres purely because of the size of the country. So Germany and Spain have regional talent centres, national talent centres, whereas in England we don't. Clubs are very, very local, they're close to each other, and each club probably has its own unique academy. So I don't know whether you could say it's better or worse than other countries. I think if you look at the success of the England youth teams over the past summer, they've made every major final or semi-final. They've won 4 or 5 competitions this summer alone. So would that suggest that our academy system is better than Germany and Spain's? Possibly at the minute.
I feel it's harder for first team managers to incorporate a player from the youth academy because they've got pressure from the boards over their job and from the fans to win and get all the glory. Is that what's making it harder for the players, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have to You have to be a brave manager to put a young boy in the first team. Again, a lot of it comes down to opportunity. So is there an injury? You know, we had a conversation in our office yesterday that young players only ever go in the first team through opportunity. They either have to create it for themselves by being outstanding in training, and going and seeing the manager and telling them that they want to play.
From your time in the academy, do you see any players in the first team squad now or moved on to any better teams at all?
Nah, not at all. I don't think anyone has been given an opportunity, even though there were some good players in the academy.
When you was at an academy, how many players were English, roughly, like a percentage?
I would say about 60%.
And where were the other players from? Were they from all around the world, or were they just from the European region?
All around the world, different countries.
In Spanish football and the academies, are a lot of players homegrown?
Yeah, yes they are.
Do you think a lot of players go from academies into first teams, and do they get scouted from Sunday League and stuff, or how does it work in Spain?
Yeah, I think Academies has a lot of importance in Spain, because most of the players that you see nowadays come from the academy. So yeah, I think most of the the good players come from their own academy. So yeah, I think it's really
Do
important.
enough players from the Spanish academies make it into the first team? Like, compared to England, do you think more players get a chance?
Yeah, 100% sure, yeah. For example, if you see last Barcelona teams, you will see a lot of players that's been like coming from the
La
the young
Masia.
Yeah, La Masia. Yeah, but I prefer the Fabrica from Real Madrid.
Also, it is more common these days for scouts from big football clubs to go abroad and scout major signings. They will go to countries like Spain, France, Germany, Brazil, and bring in a promising youngster from overseas. Back in the day, when football was less commercialised, scouts would go out to grassroots football games all across the whole of the UK from age ranges about 6 to 14 and scout players with various sides of talents. Now we don't see as many scouts going to these grassroots football games. Maybe clubs should implement it, that they should be going out back to these grassroots games. Although many clubs will say that scouts do still do this, I believe that they do not do this as much as they used to, and that has also became a reason in the decrease in British Academy graduates. I believe the introduction of a new programme to help academy players to have better second options in case football doesn't work out, and also maybe some new rules implemented that makes teams have to include academy players in their squad. I know there are rules in place now, but maybe ones which will make it even easier to improve the percentage of graduates. For example, maybe by saying that each season a club has to have at least 2 academy graduates start 50% of games. I mean, it's only small, but it's somewhere where we could start. Also, I think the introduction of a more serious under-23/reserve league would help to improve the amount of academy players making a set-up. If the under-23 league was more competitive than what it currently is, then players would be able to prove they're ready in this league and make the jump into first team a lot easier. Where a lot of managers know the under-23 league is not as competitive, where players are coming to return from injury and are also getting their first experience, they still won't give their players that trust to come and perform in the first team. Whereas if the FA made it more of a serious format and we could have a higher level of performance there, it may be able to prove that these academy players are ready to jump into the first team. The English Football Association must introduce some of these new rules if we want to keep up with other countries, as the likes of Spain, Germany, Brazil, France, Argentina. If we fail to keep up with these countries, England will continue to have their bad form in all these cup competitions. England fans may never see any success in the future if these academy rules do not change soon. All reasons mentioned have played a role in affecting academy football. However, we must accept that this is the way the game is moving forward, and we must strive to keep up with the other academies from across the world. Therefore, academies and governing bodies must do more to help revive the academy system and the dream of being professional for young stars. Governing bodies must start to introduce these programmes and to help the reserve football be improved. However, these players still need to remain hungry and have a backup plan in case of failure. However, ultimately, the future is in our hands.
whipping excursion.